We have Dr. Chok here. Dr. Chok is his PhD is in dengue fever. Dr. Chok, Gede Kartayasa, are you there? Pak Chok?
Yes, I'm here. Just make a small correction. I don't hold a doctorate degree.
Oh, sorry.
But, that's okay. That's okay. I'll take it as a compliment there. Yeah, no, I was involved in dengue fever research in a master's honors program with University of New England. I'm based in Bali. My dengue fever research was actually about treatment of dengue fever using natural substances, including homeopathic medications and different herbal interventions, such as papaya leaf and things like that. Yeah.
What do you think about the approach, unusual approach or new approach using Wolbachia?
Well, you know that
the situation of dengue fever in Indonesia is very bad.
Yes, and there are definitely seasonal trends. Usually, traditionally, with dengue fever, you see 5-year spikes. So what happens is the population, most of the population is exposed to dengue fever. But only a small percentage of those people exposed to dengue fever will actually exhibit symptoms and actually fall ill with it. So what happens is a population develops what you might call herd immunity to a particular strain of dengue fever, and then once it happens usually in a season, typically around the end of the rainy season, you know, when the mosquitoes are particularly rife. And then after that bad season, we generally have a drop off in severe cases and sort of epidemic level cases for about, traditionally it's been around 5 years. However, you know, as time goes by, I think what I've observed personally in Bali is that, you know, in the earlier part of the 2000s, 2007, 2009, 2010, there were more severe epidemics of it. The level, you know, and again, I mean, you need to consult the different bodies on that. But yeah, we haven't seen as bad outbreaks as we did back then. But I was also privy to the studies into the Wolbachia interventions back in those days, and there were many different studies that were also questioning basically whether it's mosquito population or human population that actually increases the incidence of dengue fever. And there's a Brazilian study. I'm sorry, I don't have access to it now, but you know, there's a quite extensive Brazilian study that showed it. The actual problem is human population, not so much mosquito population. So that was sort of, you know, an assessment of whether that particular intervention would be, would be applicable. And there was also questions around the potential for viral mutations, which we, you know, any biologist, particularly in virology, would tell you that there is a potential for that, and I would wonder if the any members of the scientific community in the discussion would have further information on whether any research has been done in that. I think there's also a lot of regurgitated research in the dengue field. Talking about the different serotypes, etc. I think there's a lot more variation in it, and it would be very interesting. I'm also very interested in the risk assessments, etc. And if there is a potential, I mean, you know, we've just witnessed a whole lot of viral mutation in, you know, what the world has just gone through, and I mean, you know, viral mutation is quite a common thing with influenza and etc. So Yeah, and also mosquito, like Dr. Francis just raised, then mosquito resilience and immunity and their potential. And also, it would be very interesting to hear more about if there is, we can obviously say that Wolbachia is a safe bacteria. Well, the dengue fever virus would also be safe if you washed your face with it, but it's not safe once it's injected directly into the bloodstream through a mosquito. Same could be said for malaria. So, as a health scientist, we know that there are different, what we call delivery systems for different diseases, and you can eat a certain pathogen and it will not cause a problem. But if that pathogen passes through direct blood, let's say, mechanisms, or it passes through respiratory mechanisms, then it has a different relationship with the human organism and potentially any other animal organisms. So yeah, I would be very interested to see if there's been studies directly assessing the impact of Wolbachia variant mosquitoes, but that have transmitted anything to humans. So that would be another interesting thing. And if there is any kind of a viral interaction with the Wolbachia mosquitoes and dengue fever, chikungunya, Zika, malaria, etc., etc. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's all from me.
Thank you,
Thank you, Prof.
By the way, as far as I know, dengue fever in Indonesia almost every year you have, but I don't know until the level of endemic. But what friends from Gajah Mada try, 70% decrease, and hospitality also reduced to 56%, ya Pak Marsito, ya. So it's quite successful, I think. What is your response on that?
Yeah, that appears to be successful. You'd also see a big reduction. I mean, it also depends on. It's a difficult one to compare with. Let's say if that study was done on the directly following, let's say, an epidemic outbreak of dengue, then you would see a natural increase in let's say in immunity in the population.
Oh, okay.
That's a normal thing to happen. It's like the flu. It's like any kind of a viral outbreak. You will eventually, you have your epidemic stage of it, and then you will eventually have herd immunity, if you like, in the population. So again, it's a hard one to quantify. It's a very hard one to study because it depends on number of variables, and it's a difficult one because you can't necessarily go out and test the whole a large population for immunoglobulin markers that would show some kind of an immunity to it. But I mean, in a densely populated area, if you did reduce mosquitoes, then I would say that yes, it's sort of common sense that perhaps the viral transmission chances would be reduced. But again, there's actually a lot that's not necessarily known about dengue fever, I think, from the research. There's a lot of, like I say, repeated references. It would be a very interesting thing to actually have a look at how that, if there's a way to study the carrying capacity of the mosquito when it comes to the virus.